So, welcome everybody to another episode of Two Best Friends. So, I'm one of your co hosts. My name is Jason, also known as the Red Viking on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube. And over here is my co host.
And I'm Chad, also known as Dragonheart Rising.
Today, our episode is going to be our own top 10 list of our favorite Pokemon games of all time. For number 10 for me, let's start out this list. I put Pokemon Quest. You may know it
Oh,
as the game that was on the Nintendo Switch. Came out
yes.
a few years ago at this point. And I wanted to put this one on the list because it was very, very, very different than basically all the other Pokemon games. I found that overall it was a fun game. It was a good game to play when you just want to chill out. Had to put it on the list somewhere, so I was like, number 10. That's good. We'll start
So,
nice and low. Honestly, all that we could do is go up from here, right?
exactly.
What about you? What'd you have for number 10?
So, my number 10, just as a bit of a precursor, there were games that kind of overlapped with each other. Then I just put them in together red, blue, gold, silver, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, my number 10 is Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Oh, the
And
first ones.
yes.
Okay.
Actually, they were the second ones. Sun and Moon were the first ones, and then Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking like black 2, white 2, that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I put Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and the reason I put it lower on the list is because part of the reason that I love it so much is how much I love the anime of this generation. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and so they tie in together. You see all the same sort of characters together. How Ash is a little more grown up in the series
Hmm.
from earlier episodes, kind of like, oh, what is he doing that for? And come on, you've been a trainer for this long. How do you not know this? You know, like that kind of stuff. Or as one of the characters in the Gen 5 series says, you know, he's such a little kid. Shout out to Iris. So
Nice.
but with Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon episodes and everything they had with it were just so awesome, and that made me love this generation even more. And the games themselves are also really fun. Doing Z moves as their trademark thing of this generation. That even though the Pokedex wasn't a full national dex, all Pokemon are compatible with it.
Yep.
So that one's really cool. Mega Evolution comes by later on in the game. I know for sure in the Ultra games. I'm not sure if the regular ones or not. But it was just really, really fun to play. It was different. There weren't gym battles. Instead, there were trials for the islands.
Yeah.
Yeah, just unique in its own way. Really fun games to play. Yeah, just the whole feel of the generation made me just love this game even more. So that was the first one on my list. And right next to it, so for number 9, I've got Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu.
Oh,
And,
nice. Nice.
oh yeah, I had to put them in here.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
as well as with Pokemon Go. It was the first one where you can get Melton and Melmetal, which are considered mythical Pokemon. You can only evolve Melton in Pokemon Go, so that's the only way to get Melmetal. Let's Go was the first on-screen, that is like on the big screen system that you could actually bring them into. So it wasn't just in Pokemon Go anymore. You could put them into Let's Go and see them on the big screen and everything. So
Oh, with Melton and Melmetal.
yeah, so your
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Pokedex is actually 153 with Mew and then the original 150 as well.
Yeah.
The way that they did it was just a lot of fun. It was a great remake. The story itself is really easy, so it's good for any beginner
Hmm.
who wants to get into it. And then if you're still looking for a challenge, they've got the Ace Trainers at the post game.
Yeah.
There is another name for them, but I'm calling them the Ace Trainers. They're basically the best trainer of each Pokemon, and you have to challenge them with that Pokemon. So, for example, with Eevee and Pikachu, you can challenge, and they actually tell you where it is. You can challenge the trainer who's the best with Eevee and Pikachu, and then go one-on-one with them. And they're typically higher leveled, like around 65, I think, for the first stage evolutions, up to 80, I think, is the highest. And they're fully trained with what are called AVs, so the adventure values,
Yeah.
And so they're tough competition. They definitely can be. And so getting to do all those trainers as well gives you a fun challenge. And like I said, they've got the Mega Evolutions in there. They've got Alolan forms in there.
Hmm.
And so it's taking the original Pokemon games and adding a whole bunch more to them. And yeah, they're just a lot of fun. And also one of the first games that became a lot easier to shiny hunt. And
Yes.
for people like me, that is what I love. So yeah, that's my number 9.
And it's so funny. So the reason why I was like super excited when you said this because I put the Let's Go games also at number 9.
Oh no way.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was like, oh yeah.
That's perfect.
So just to add on to what you're saying, so I'm not going to repeat the same stuff that you went over. What I would
Mhm.
say that I liked about them too, so for you guys that don't know, I had Let's Go Pikachu. I love the fact that that Pikachu gets different moves.
Mm.
So I thought that was fun too, even though I'm gonna say straight up, those Pokemon, like depending which version you get, are so extremely strong. It's
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Yep.
But yeah, like what you're saying about how it's easier to shiny hunt and all that. I thought it was cool that, you have your catch combos that you get, how they utilize that in the Let's Go games. I thought was
Mhm.
pretty good. Graphics wise, I like what they did with it, how they brought it up to modern times, but it is so familiar. It's a lot of stuff of, yeah, I've gone here, I've done that. But the fact that it's so different compared
Mm.
to what we did way, way, way back, like 20 years ago or 25 years ago. I don't know, long time ago.
Yep.
That it was still pretty fresh. I thought that was really fun. Overall, there's a reason why it's number 9, you know?
Mhm.
It's still not like the best of the best. However,
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that it was absolute trash. I think it was actually really good. That was my number 9, as well as
Perfect.
yours. That was
That's
so
awesome.
funny. I don't know if we'll have more overlaps, but maybe we will.
Quite possibly.
So number 8, Pokemon Snap.
Mm.
So the N64 version of this.
Okay, yep.
I absolutely loved this game back in the day. Absolutely loved it. I
Mm.
thought that the graphics, along with Pokemon Stadium, are just so, so, so good. And it really opened my eyes up to what Pokemon can be. Instead of just always being about like trainer battles, collecting all the badges, doing all this kind of stuff, right? Where Pokemon Snap is literally you're on this track, but you get to go around and like take photos of all these Pokemon. I thought it was so incredibly cool. It was
Mhm.
very relaxing. It was also really fun. You and I actually would hang out and play the game together.
Yep.
And it's so much easier to talk because you're not competing with one another. You're more like, yo, you missed this Pokemon over here. You got to get it next time, right? And then
Yes.
also way back then when we played this game, it was still before, the internet was a big deal and all that. The fact of when you hear about, hey, there's this secret area that you can get to in Pokemon Snap,
Mm.
it created this really, really awesome feeling of how do we do this? And is this actually true or not? Because still staying way back in the day there's all those rumors back with first generation of Pokemon where you can collect Mew in the game. You have to go
Right.
and you have to like push this thing. But yeah,
Mhm.
Pokemon Snap was cool. And the best part was that kind of hidden stage, that area, actually did exist.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got to take a photo of Mew, and that made me really fall in love with Mew, thinking this is an incredibly powerful psychic Pokemon, and I
Mhm.
loved Pokemon Snap. I thought it was really good.
All right then. Well, my number 8 was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
And with this one, I was trying to remember if I'd played it before or after Ultra Sun because I'd taken a little break for a while.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but anyway, I started playing this one. And when I first played the Gen 3 games, I was like all out, love Groudon. Groudon's absolutely awesome. He's kind of like my go to. And then I started playing Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. And I was like, it'd be really fun is to actually see how good Kyogre is in this one.
Yes.
And I
It's
was
pretty
like,
good.
oh my word.
Spoiler
So they
alert, but yeah.
Yeah, like they really made them mammoths of a legendary level.
Yeah.
Well, both of them. They're so broken in the game. The game itself, it's like you're getting to relive the Gen 3 games. And then you're getting a whole lot of other Pokemon. You can get pretty much all the legendaries between X and Y and Oras, as we call it.
Hmm.
And so you can get a vast number of them in Oras. And you have to kind of go between the two to get some of them, like Zekrom and Kyurem. You can get them in, I forget which one it was, but then you have to get Reshiram as well, and you can only get that in the other game.
Yeah.
So just different stuff like that. And then getting Mega Evolution in there, and you get a whole bunch more Mega forms that you can do. Groudon and Kyogre get their primal forms,
Hmm.
which are vicious. And then yeah, just the overall replayability of it was really awesome. And then to get Deoxys as well,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
made that huge. And so yeah, like overall with the gameplay itself, it was a lot of fun. Doing Mega Evolutions was a lot of fun. Catching all those legendaries was fun. Getting Deoxys was awesome.
Mhm.
And yeah, it just made for a really fun game. I know I did, I think, 5 or 6 playthroughs almost in a row, like just one after the other, and just kept really enjoying it. And so yeah, that's why it hit the list. Outside of that, it's typical game, so that's why it didn't get pushed too far ahead. Definitely had to have it on my top 10 for sure.
Nice.
And then for number 7,
Yeah.
I got BDSP, brilliant,
Okay. Okay.
brilliant diamond shining pearl,
Yeah.
and for one main reason, and that's the underground.
Yeah.
I quite often wouldn't even do anything with the storyline. I would just jump down to the underground and hop online and just go at it with all sorts of different people online, just digging.
Yeah.
And oh, I couldn't believe how much fun that was.
It is so addicting, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Like one day I remember coming home from work and jumping down to the underground. I'm like, oh, I'll just go in here for a little while and then, get some more stuff with the story done. And it's like 3 hours later, I'm like, oh, maybe I won't get anything with the story done.
Yeah.
I honestly do love the remakes. I know a lot of people were kind of disappointed because they're like Sword and Shield graphics is what they should be, and doing all this, but it's a totally different company that does them. The big new graphic one was actually another game that we may or may not end up talking about later.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
BDSP done by a different company altogether. And I thought they did a really good job on it. They stayed true to the Diamond Pearl games. They expanded on it with the underground and all the different Pokemon you could get there.
Yeah.
The fact that they went back to single TM usage, but they give you a few more TMs than usual and give you an easier way to find TMs made it a little more user friendly as well in that regard.
Mhm.
I just loved it. It was such a fun game.
Yeah, it's a really good game. Absolutely. 100% agree with you on that.
Oh, and the Elite Four actually being EV trained, IV trained, proper natures, held items. For years, everyone was like playing against Red in the Gen 2 games was, Pikachu was the strongest Pokemon that had been with any trainer
Hmm.
at level 88. And then now Cynthia's got her Garchomp at level 88
Oh yeah, that
on the
Garchomp is so strong.
oh my word. I was like, yep, there's your new strongest trainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that made it a lot of fun too. The challenge with everything.
Yeah. So for number 7, I had Pokemon Arceus.
I,
Arceus. The R's. R.
I,
I really liked the game. I thought it
mhm.
was extremely well done. You know what I actually really liked about this game that I don't think we have talked about yet? And that was the amount of side quests that you could do in the game. You just go into your town, hang out, and they'll be like, "Hey, can you find me this or that?" Like there were so many of them, and they were actually really fun to do because it
Oh
gave
yeah.
you another reason when you head on out to whichever area you want to hang out in. Like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, let me keep an eye out for this and that. And that was really cool. It also made it so you could get a shiny Pokemon really early on in the game.
Right?
because initially to get a shiny is really hard to do.
It's true.
I spent about 20, 30 hours, and yeah, it never happened aside from, your shiny ponytail that you get.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason why I didn't put it higher is because I believe that they're going to do a follow-up to this at some
Mm.
point. And I think it's going to be so much more fleshed out that it's absolutely going to blow Pokemon Arceus out of the water.
Oh yeah.
So I'm holding out for that because I thought that this was an excellent step in a new direction. And it's one that I really, really, really want to see the company keep on doing.
Mm-hmm.
Have your mainline ones like what they've been doing, but then every other year or however they do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have something like this because I think that it caters to a completely different audience.
Mm.
And I love it. I think it's really, really, really good. So I don't know if you'll be talking more about that later on. So I'm going to put a pin in it for now. And then my number 6 was BDSP. What else could I say about that series? Like you, I thought the graphics were quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I was also annoyed at the fact that so many fans were saying that they should be better
Right.
because let's keep in mind that the director for this game went on to say that it's going to stay faithful to the original.
Yep.
So they were never going to do something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to just say it again because you already brought it up. The underground is so addicting.
Oh yeah.
It is so much fun. I remember you and I had like a phone call conversation for a few hours, and all that we were doing was just hanging out in the underground.
Yep.
That was great. I also really enjoyed the fact that if you had played the previous Pokemon games on Nintendo Switch, when you got BDSP, you would get bonus Pokemon for that.
Yes.
What I did for my first round of going through the game was I just had like a completely mythical kind of party. And I
Yes.
still had a little bit of an issue because there's so many of just like the fairy and psychic types. Just kind of bypasses it, but I had fun with it because the underground is so much fun. You can
Mm-hmm.
make your own little base and everything, which is really cool. You can check out other people's bases as well, which
Yep.
is really fun too. As well, sometimes you get lucky and you get really rare Pokemon out there. Not much else I could really say about BDSP because keep stealing my thunder from Let's Go and BDSP, and I swear if you keep on doing this throughout the list, I'm gonna get so annoyed.
Only we're only halfway through, pal.
Yeah, I know. I know. This is not good, guys. No, no, this is fun. This is making me realize I was like, man, I thought my list was totally different, but the only one is Pokemon Quest.
Mm-hmm. And don't
All
worry,
right.
that's not my upper echelon.
Okay, okay. I mean, the art style was cool for Pokemon Quest.
Oh
Overall,
yeah.
overall, you know what? For a free game, though, it was really good.
Oh, totally was.
Yeah.
Totally was. I
Uh,
still.
you still play it?
Yeah, I was just playing a little bit this morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was waiting for my power to go back on.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing. I mean, you have like an hour or two that you could do whatever, and then,
Exactly.
but yeah, once it dies, it dead. Um,
Oh yeah.
your turn.
So number 6, Fire Red Leaf Green.
Ooh, yeah.
Such a good game. Like when it first came out, it's like this is the first remake ever, and you can go through, the original storyline again. Slightly different Pokemon for some of the gym leaders, for the trainers overall. Just getting to relive it again for the first time was just so much fun. And then the Savai Islands that you could get just after the 7th gym, I believe it was. And there you can go do Pokemon breeding at one of the daycares there, which is new to the Gen 1 games
Hmm.
because it didn't start till Gen 2. And on top of which, there's a move tutor that if your starter Pokemon was friendly with you, which by that point usually they are, then you get to teach them one of the elemental hyper beams, depending which one it is.
Hmm.
And that's Frenzy Plant, Blast Burn, and Hydro Cannon. And so to get that added on, and it's like, oh, this is new and really, really cool. I would definitely say, just offhand, I'm just going to spout this one out there, that the Gen 3 and Gen 4 games, just with all of them, were among my favorite playing them. Without a doubt, like the Fire Red Leaf Green was a big part of that. Yeah, just a whole lot of fun getting to play these games again and do them as a remake, and just really, really good fun there.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. They were really, really good adaptations.
Really were. Lots of fun to do.
Hmm.
Except for Cerulean Cave when you had to go get Mewtwo and then you'd come across Wobbuffet and he'd have Shadow Tag and wouldn't let you escape, so you had to fight it, and it's just like, oh, I just want to go get Mewtwo. Stop getting in my way.
Yeah, leave me alone. Wow, the fix.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I'll hit you with this. And he's like, counter, you're done. Oh crap.
Totally.
And speaking of Gen 3, my number 5 spot is Emerald.
Ah, yes.
I had mentioned before how the IGN list had Emerald and then Fire Red Leaf Green, and I'm like, that just doesn't work. I was actually originally gonna put like just swap them just for the fun of it and
Oh
do,
yeah.
you know, one at 5, one at 3, and then I'm like, oh, but there's something else. No, can't do it. But Emerald, I know I talked about a lot in the last podcast as well. And so I won't say too much more on it other than fantastic game. Great upgrade from Ruby and Sapphire. Awesome that you could get all 3 legendaries instead of just 2, because generally it was either Groudon or Kyogre.
Yeah.
This one you could get both. I think you could even get a few other legendaries. But the big one was the Battle Frontier. For anyone who's doing competitive battling, that one was a blast.
Mm.
The first real challenge. They do have something similar to that in Crystal, but there's not really any restrictions on it. So in the higher levels, you can actually bring legendaries with you. I don't think there was even any item restrictions, if I recall correctly. I might be wrong on that. But the Battle Frontier was the original Battle Tower format that was set up, where it's like, okay, you can't do legendary Pokemon or mythical Pokemon, certain levels, certain items, like you can only have one of each item equipped on them, all that kind of stuff. So it set the foundation for all the battle towers that would come up in future generations. And so yeah, everything with Emerald was just absolutely amazing and such a blast to play it.
Yeah, there isn't a lot more for me to really say about it either, because we already did talk about it too on the previous episode. Good game is
Definitely.
good, and it's top 5 now too. Maybe I
Hmm.
should change that to great game is great.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it makes me want to actually go and play some of those generations I totally never touched because I
Mhm.
had such a huge gap in the mainline Pokemon games. Yeah, it's just making me think like, yeah, especially when I was creating previous episode and finding
Mhm.
all this gameplay and stuff like that. I was like, oh, okay. Actually, this looks pretty cool. Anything else you want to say about that, or
No, I think that's it for me. So
all right,
that's my 5.
throw it back on over.
Hmm.
All right. So for number 5, I put Pokemon Go.
Okay.
Yeah, namely because if I look at my hours I played on my phone, it's in the triple digits.
Oh yeah.
And actually, I don't know how completely accurate that is, and how much of it is just like hanging out in the background. Actually, no. If it's hanging out in the background, it'd probably be like over 1,000 hours.
Right.
Pokemon Go. I know that we talked about it also in the previous episode, so I won't go too long on this. It made me get back into Pokemon again because I was feeling kind of burnt out. And at the time when this app came out, or app, game, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
it made me think of Pokemon in a different way. Just like what I talked about with Pokemon Snap,
Right.
Pokemon Go was also like a totally different angle of how you could enjoy the world of Pokemon. And yeah, it meant a lot to me. It
Mhm.
it also helped me find out that different people that I didn't know were into Pokemon were into Pokemon. He plays Pokemon Go even more than you and I do, maybe
Yeah.
even combined.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was really cool, and the fact that they keep on updating the game has been really nice. I do
Mhm.
have some issues with it just from a financial aspect. If you
Right.
want to be the very best, you gotta spend a lot of money.
Yep.
At the same time, you can just enjoy the game, and that's something that me and my wife did as well. Is we would go on expeditions together, take out some gyms really quickly, do some shiny hunting when it's like a community day or any sort of event going on for one Pokemon in particular.
Right.
It was good. It was really, really, really a fun game. One that you could play anywhere. right? That's
Mm-hmm.
why I threw it at number 5 because I thought, you know what, have it right around the middle, and that's exactly what I did. Anything you want to say about it?
No, other than yeah, it's a really fun. What's really cool about it is that there's a lot of people who play Go that don't play the mainline games as well, and so it's a fun way for other people to enjoy it if they're not as much into sitting in gaming like we are.
Yeah,
Um, but they still get to get around and enjoy it, and can also push other people to walk around and get some more exercise as well. And then for me, it's like I know I take a lot of steps at work, so I just throw some eggs into the incubator and hatch them while I'm at work.
yep,
Make good use of it, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
it is. Yeah, number 4, I put in new Pokemon Snap.
Mm,
It had to literally double up the previous Pokemon Snap, you know?
yep.
New Pokemon Snap. I put at number 4 because it was exactly what I was looking for in a sequel to a game that I honestly I didn't even think they were going to do a sequel for.
Mm-hmm.
But new Pokemon Snap, it was so good. So incredibly
Mm,
good. You had your routes, or no, you had your areas. You would have your one route that you could do, but you could play through that same level so many times. You could do your
yep.
day mode, you could do your night mode. You could find secret routes that were available. And
Mm-hmm.
then after you've done a lot in the game, one of my favorite areas to do was actually just the backyard of your headquarters.
Oh yes.
It is just, it's so incredibly cute. The graphics, top tier. Absolutely amazing top tier. And then there's the leaderboards that you could do. You could customize your photos as well. There was just, if you liked the old school Pokemon Snap, this was exactly what I think everybody would want.
Oh yeah.
I really, really, really enjoyed it a lot. So that's why I threw that one at number 4.
So my number 4 is Legends Arceus.
Okay, okay, okay.
I absolutely adored this game. All sorts of different ways you could do it. One of the things I love playing are JRPGs or just RPGs in general as well.
Hmm.
And one of the first things I love doing is exploring. And so at this one, it's like you would jump to the first area and you could just literally run around and explore for the most part. There's a few areas that were off limits, but uh, just run around and see all the different Pokemon that were out there, and don't try swimming because that doesn't work well. But
No.
you could play it one of two different ways. You could try to jump through the storyline and just try to progress as fast as you can through it, or you can just take your time and fill in the Pokedex and pump up your Pokemon's level and stats and moves and all that kind of stuff, and just do it kind of whatever way you wanted, which is a great precursor to Scarlet and Violet coming out because they have it that sort of way. And this was the first game that really did that. Normally, Pokemon's pretty linear,
Yeah.
but with this one, it's like, nah, take your time, do whatever. Want to go explore, want to find those different Pokemon, go for it. Yeah, and then like the way battling went, obviously not quite as many battles as most Pokemon games, but the ones that are there pretty decent for the most part.
Hmm.
Um, the system itself is completely different, which is pretty fun. And then in the final area, I think the last time I was like, there's about 7 battles or so. Okay, not quite that many. I think there was 3 or 4.
Oh, was it actually that few? Okay. Yeah,
Just
I didn't even bother taking a look, but yeah, you did say 7 battles in our
yeah,
first episode.
and I think it's about 7 battles throughout the main story. The last area has about 3, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. And then there's of course the final battle, which is a really tough battle. So it's fun to give yourself a challenge with that one.
Mm.
But yeah, like I mean, just a great array of Pokemon. They really did the Sinnoh region pretty good this generation, with BDSP and then with Legends Arceus and getting a few new evolutions and this new Pokemon altogether.
Yep.
Like, yep, this one's pretty cool. And then for everyone who does love battle challenges, the update happened, and it was good. They, they have one of the characters in there is actually a character from the Gen 5 games, from the Battle Subway. His name's Ingo.
Yeah.
and he brings forth a lot more challenges in the update. Some of them are kind of ridiculous, but they're a lot of fun as well,
Mm.
and gives yourself a challenge. On top of which, if you're a real, completionist that you want to get every bit of info on the Pokemon in the Pokedex completely completed. I saw one person who had done it, and they I think took about 330 plus hours.
Yeah, it's still a long time.
Yeah. So a lot of content, a lot of stuff to do. Just a great game. So much fun. So much
Hmm.
fun playing it. So that one was my number 4. And then for 3, getting into the top 3 here. So for the bronze medal, Sword and Shield. And the fact that it's only at 3 tells you there's 2 games that I absolutely adore because I absolutely love Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Such a huge fan of it. I love the different Pokemon, the different forms, the Galarian forms, Alchemy and all her 63 forms.
Oh my
Well,
word. Yeah.
70 if you include shinies. All the different DLC that came out that gives you 2 more different wild areas, basically, with their own characteristics. Again, they allow you to go after all the previous legendaries. You get Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres in Galarian form, which are pretty funky, I have to admit, and I like them. I know a lot of people were complaining about, and we've talked about this before, about the national dex not being there. But if you
Hmm.
total up the Pokedex Pokemon and then plus all the extras plus the legendaries, you're upwards of about 670, maybe even a little higher, closer to 700 Pokemon out of 900. And so you still get a lot. I know some are missing that people really like Ampharis. I absolutely love Ampharis, and sad not to see it there, but there's so many and so many good ones that kind of goes by the wayside. It's like, it's okay that we're missing a few of them because the game itself is just so much fun. You get the battle tower again for competitive type stuff. The DLC brought in another type of battling, which was a lot of fun, where you got to pick Pokemon of the same element and take them with you. And that one was a lot of fun. There's a lot of not only just with Pokemon, but with like all the Watts to fully upgrade the fighting dojo, and
Yeah.
yeah, like there's just so much. Then there's all the max raids, and you can do them locally. You could do them online if you don't have anyone locally. I mean, what didn't this game have besides? Well, I don't know. Like the way that they've taken it with the other games, it's like, yeah, they're upgrading these different aspects of games, but Sword and Shield had so much to it, and it's so much fun. And going back and replaying it again, I'm definitely going to be doing that at some point. I mean, just top tier games. It's not surprising at all that they basically sold the most number of copies of any Pokemon game to date.
Yeah.
I believe it was up at around 24.5 million or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, I had the same one for number 3.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so yeah, no, it was. I really think that our number 2 and number 1 are probably going to be different, but yeah, no, Pokemon Sword and Shield was absolutely fantastic. I really loved it too because, mhm, like I said before, I had a really long break between like the mainline Pokemon games, but
Hmm.
I got that Nintendo Switch within the first couple months, I think, after it released. I can't remember
Okay.
how quickly I got it. I know it was really, really early on though.
Hmm.
But yeah, Pokemon Sword and Shield, I thought this looks awesome because, like you're saying, you got a wild area, which is like your little MMO RPG sort of area where you can see tons of different people throughout the world, and I thought that was super, super, super cool. Like you said,
Hmm.
the Watts are fun. You get the bikes super early on, which is really nice as well. And yeah, doing those raid battles I thought was really cool. It
Hmm.
seems so incredibly epic, especially the first couple times that you do it.
Hmm.
So I thought that was awesome. I thought it was so funny how there are the memes that came out because just like how you were talking about like mega evolutions and all that kind of stuff,
Yep.
Pokemon Sword and Shield, they had their own version of that as well. and just thinking of Waylord, right?
Yes.
Was it was funny. It was just it was awesome.
Oh, they were great. I love those memes.
Yeah, they
Like,
were.
Waylord, Dynamax, and then just the whole stadium's
The whole
gone.
stadium's gone. Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was really good. Graphics is it was so cool because this was also the game where we had been wanting a mainline Pokemon game, but one that you could play on your TV.
Yes.
This was it. This was it.
Yep.
So that is a big reason that got me right back into it because I was never a really big handheld gaming sort of fan.
Mm.
The Nintendo Switch, it really bounced, both of those sides really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got me interested. It got me like, okay, cool. Let's have some really, really good 3D graphics for it because way back in the day we had Pokemon Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
which is what kind of made me hungry of like, just give it to me. Just give it to me,
Yeah.
please.
Mm-hmm.
So when they finally did with Sword and Shield, I was on board for that. Love the online aspects that you're talking about. Not going to take too much more time with it because really, how much more can we keep on talking about Sword and Shield? Because we talked about the previous episode and now we're talking about it again.
Yep.
But it's number 3 for both of us, which goes to show that I thought IGN was way too harsh on it. I
Yeah.
thought that it was a huge step in the right direction, and
Mm.
Scarlet and Violet are going to show even more of why this was a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Big time.
All right. I'm going to go up for number 2,
All
right?
right.
Pokemon Stadium.
Oh, yes. So good.
Yes, it was amazing. So the N64 era was the era where you and I started hanging out quite a bit.
Yep.
And Stadium, we played that so much together.
Oh, yeah.
So not only did we do competitive play, which was a lot of fun, how you get to import your teams,
Yes.
but there was also the mini games. And the mini
Oh, yeah.
games was like a huge mode unto itself.
Yeah.
Now, but Stadium, it just ushered in that idea of what else Pokemon could be in not only a competitive way, but also a really, really, really fun multiplayer way. Because
Mhm.
even if you weren't playing with other people locally, you could still play with the computer. And the
Yeah.
computer was actually really stinking good too.
Yeah. Right.
Like really, really, really tough. For now, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay. Kind of building up to it. When we started playing Stadium and Stadium 2, there was just this big thing in me that was like, I want to see a 3D Pokemon adventure game.
Yeah.
Uh, like on the TV. This would be so amazing. Would absolutely love it. And there are two games that came out that people sometimes forget about, and they're on the GameCube.
It
And
is so cool that I alluded to this.
I absolutely love it. Pokemon Coliseum, and I also included XD with it, the Gale of Darkness. And
I thought you were actually gonna do Gale of Darkness.
I I was thinking of just doing one or the other,
Yeah.
but the thing
Okay.
is, the two of them together, because they are XD is a sequel to it, to Coliseum, but they both brought something different, and yet they were both vital aspects of the Gen 3 series. And here's what I mean by that. With Stadium, we loved doing all the different battles as well.
Hmm.
And for competitive play, that really jumped up in Emerald. And I was trying to remember, I think Emerald came out last. So the Battle Frontier was kind of the last thing of Gen 3.
Right.
Um, but right around that time, XD Gale of Darkness came out. But Coliseum had a massive competitive type thing with it. You could do all those different kind of battles that you could in Stadium. Coliseum was like your battle emphasis, and you could do all sorts of different kinds of things where you could go level 50, you could go level 100, you could do the mount battle, which is 100 trainers in a row. And if you do it with your storyline from the in-game story mode, then you could also get Ho-Oh if you fully completed it.
Mm.
And then what XD brought was something a lot more along the lines of egg moves and TMs, because of course TMs are single use at this point.
Yeah.
So you could get TMs on these different Pokemon. You could get these other moves that normally they wouldn't have at all, but they're just brand new moves, and these Pokemon could learn them. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And there's a couple people who you can trade with. One is actually an in-game trade because XD has wild Pokemon in there. And so you could take 3 specific Pokemon, trade them for another one, trade them to one of the in-game characters, and then get 3 brand new Pokemon that you can't normally get otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another one who gives you a Shadow Togepi, and if you purify it and bring it back to him, he'll give you an Elekid.
Well, which
And
is
this
pretty cool. It's good.
and this Elekid, and here's what's really, really cool. So this Elekid has 4 moves that only one of them he normally gets. There's the 3 elemental punches, so he can normally learn Thunder Punch.
Yeah.
And then through breeding at this time, he could learn Fire Punch and Ice Punch. And then he also has Cross Chop, which is power of 100, high critical rate. If you evolve this one into Electabuzz, Electabuzz is a special attacker. So those 3 elemental punches are based off of his special attack, which is really good.
Mm.
If you were to bump this Electabuzz into Gen 4, then which you can do with the Game Boy Advance and the DS, you could use the different games and different areas in the game where you can put in the GBA version while you're playing the DS version. It's a one specific type of DS that you can do this with.
Yeah.
And if you send up your Electabuzz and then evolve them into Electivire in Gen 4, those elemental punches and cross chop are all physical based, and Electivire is a physical based Pokemon. Kind of bridged the Gen 3, Gen 4 physical special split, where in one generation, the special, like these attacks are special attacks and they're really good with special attackers like Electabuzz. And then you can bump them up and get these moves, which you normally can't get other than through breeding.
Yeah.
And you can have an Electivire with these 4 powerful moves that you normally wouldn't get otherwise.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, you can just keep them in Gen 3 and use them in Coliseum battles, or you can connect with Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green. Just the options that you get with Coliseum and XD with the different Pokemon you can get, and being able to link like this was what made me love Gen 3 so much, was just how much you could do with these 2 games in particular and link them up with the other 5 that were on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, catching shadow Pokemon, which we never saw again until Pokemon Go.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the Gale of Darkness being a Shadow Lugia, and probably one of the hardest battles in Pokemon for a long time was the final battle in XD. First, you got to take on Lugia, and then you got to take on 6 shadow Pokemon with 1 trainer. And first one's like a Rhydon, a Tauros, an Executor, and then, nothing much, just the 3 legendary birds after that, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people just have so much trouble with that, especially if they're trying to catch all 6 of them as well, which I always do. And it's like, oh man, that can be really, really tough sometimes. Definitely games I would go back to. And my number 1 is one of the dearest games to me by far, and that's Heart Gold Soul Silver.
He went with that one. Yeah.
Oh,
IGN number
how
1.
could I? Yeah, I was like, finally, IGN and I have one thing in common, and that's these games. They are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
The Pokeathlon, just like the Underground and BDSP, is something you could just go play for hours, especially when you got your own Pokemon and bring them in and watch them do different races, or taking, like, what is it they're breaking? I don't forget if it was bricks or just wood planks or what it was, but yeah, like all the different things you can do in that one. It's just so good. On top of which, because of the Pokeathlon, you can get all of the evolution items, so you can actually evolve every Pokemon that's in that generation. The games themselves are just classic. You do Johto, and then beat the Elite Four, and then you go beat Kanto,
Hmm.
and then you can beat an upgraded Elite Four, and then you go battle Red, classic battle. So much fun doing it. So yeah, without a doubt, these games are at the top of my list for sure.
Yeah, it's two games to one, really.
Mhm. Big time. So how about you? What's your number one?
My number one was Pokemon Yellow.
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah, Pokemon Yellow. And that's why I wanted to put a pin in it on Pokemon Stadium because that was the other part to it was you had that adapter right on your N64 controller. You put in
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Yellow, and then you could play Pokemon Yellow on the big screen. Also get
Yes.
like, cool little borders on there too.
Mm-hmm.
Pikachu with the Pokeball. But yeah, this was the big, big introduction to Pokemon for me, like just taking it to that next level. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I wasn't like a big, Game Boy sort of person, right?
Right.
This was that way of getting into Pokemon while I'm still playing on the big screen. I loved it. This is why like Pikachu is still like my favorite Pokemon of all time because Pokemon Yellow, you have your little Pikachu everywhere
Yes.
you go, right?
Yep.
And yeah, Yellow was also like a nice evolution on the first generation Pokemon because if you take a look at the style of the Pokemon back on the original
Mm-hmm.
looks different than what you actually got over in Pokemon Yellow.
Right.
So they redesigned a lot of those styles, which I don't know if they did that because of Pokemon Stadium, Snap, and all that, but yeah, because some
Mm.
of them looked quite different actually compared to what you get from Yellow. Pokemon Yellow is my introduction to Pokemon. That's what I kind of did for a few of the top five that I had. Yellow and Stadium were just so influential. Along with Pokemon Go, I thought was extremely influential as well. And then
Mm-hmm.
Shield was like me coming back to it, right? That's how I set up my top 10 was what meant the most to me, especially if you want to count in how many hours I put into games as well. Because
Yeah.
Yellow, I played through that one quite a bit. Stadium, I put tons of hours into that as well. Yeah, and then Pokemon Go probably takes all other nine, combine it all together, and then it's about equal
Yeah.
just due to the fact that it's so easy to pick up your phone, and then when you do those big community days, you're spending a whole day basically, well, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., just
Mm-hmm.
playing it. So, especially when it was Kanto days. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, Pokemon Yellow, by far and away, it's my number one. I almost put Stadium actually as number one,
Oh yeah.
but I thought, you know what? They work hand in hand together. I'm just gonna put the mainline game up on there, and then Stadium is gonna be like the secondary one, but by no means is that a lot less of a game. And then that is our top 10 list. Anything else you want to say on the top 10 list? Where are you thinking?
No, I mean, other than there's a reason these games aren't on our top 10 list. Like they're fun, they're great to play and play over and over again,
Yeah.
and like you said, you build memories over the years, and yeah, they're special to us for their own reasons, and can't wait to add another couple games to that list.
Yes. That's going to be the fun part is, after the initial reactions, like in the next year or two or whatever, right? It'd be
Mm-hmm.
really cool to see where these next games sit. Do they
Yeah,
crack the top 10? If so, how really good are they?
yeah.
I'm really, really, really interested in finding that out. We will be posting the next one another week from now, and that episode is going to be a lot to do with Scarlet and Violet. As well as maybe by that point we find out what's going on with that chest thing that we just found out this morning. Is there a new
Yes.
coin Pokemon? And if so, what the heck?
Yeah, no.
Completely random. Is it actually mythical or something? Like, what is this? Actually, I heard apparently it's in Pokemon Go right now. I
Oh,
saw
really?
something on Twitter that apparently you can catch this coin Pokemon in Pokemon Go.
Oh, what?
So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I'll probably have to re-download Pokemon Go and find out what is going on. It could have been a Photoshop, but on Twitter, what
Yeah.
I saw was a guy showing a screenshot of Pokemon Go, and he was over by, I think it was just a stop. I don't think he was at a gym.
Okay.
And you could see that little coin Pokemon there. So apparently it's shown up. I don't know. Is it
That's
going to be
kind
like a
of
Meltan, Melmetal kind of thing?
maybe.
Yeah. So that is going to be next week's episode. Is going to be a lot to do with what are we finding out? What are like these early leaks that are being confirmed? I don't want to do a lot of rumor mill kind of stuff, but the following week we'll get to find out all the answers to that anyway. So I'll be okay just having like a hype sort of podcast about that.
Yeah.
This has been Jason, and
And Chad.
have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Yeah, take care, everyone.